Why? Uh, mm, yeah, yeah.
Aw. Artist extraordinaire, actor, singer songwriter, juggler. I don't know. What is it? Mechanic. No, she does everything.
Just
Um,
everything.
just everything, How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. And also want everyone to know that you are the first person I met out here as far as a fellow actor and writer. So you are the first person, and you know what? Like I've told all my friends in LA, I mean, women got to stick together, and I'm always about finding strong women, and just finding someone to work with because it's important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why women have this thing that we have to compete against each other. I think it's
Right.
stronger that if we do things together. It was good, especially that conversation we had at the brewery. Back when God, Jenna had me come meet her at this place, and this guy, I don't remember his name, but it went from operatic to metal.
Yeah, it's
Who is
great.
this guy? You gotta tell me because we got to plug. I mean, who is he? He's
Yeah,
amazing.
Daniel Maciel. He's amazing. He is so talented, but he is a trip, man. He's
It
exactly what you're describing. He's classically trained, but he has like a lot of love for punk and metal. So he kind of does this fusion. He also teaches voice lessons.
uh but then again, okay, so we met. Um Would you consider yourself an actor first, singer, songwriter? I know. Yeah,
Ah,
just
it's a tough question, you know. I tend to kind of cheat the system and I tend to just be like, I'm a creative because that's a
I'm,
catch-all,
I'm an
or
artist.
I'm an
Yeah, yeah.
artist. It's a catch-all. I mean, I was songwriting before I was acting. I didn't act until
Okay.
college, surprisingly. But then acting has been the thing I've always had maybe the strongest itch for. In
Hmm.
terms of storytelling, but that's also because of the musical theater influence. So it's not exclusive from songwriting and singing. It's kind of all of it together. You can take, you can give. Let him be, let him live. If I die.
Your first movie you ever saw in the theater, and does it still hold up?
I was trying to think about what the first movie was, and that's really hard. I was going to the movies before I could talk. My parents would just take me genuinely, and I remember them describing it to me before I could remember of me just captivated, just watching a film, couldn't even talk, but I never got up, I never fussed. And then when I started getting older, they would do things like they would give me a blanket that I could use if it was scary. And I remember watching like different movies, like even Jurassic Park, stuff like that. And I would like hold it up and then peek over the blanket, you know? But I think the first one I really remember would probably be, I want to say the second Lord of the Rings. I think that was probably the first movie I actually remember watching.
Okay.
And yeah, it still holds up. It still holds up completely. That I think I was so influenced by high fantasy, even as far as the first books I read, that getting to see something like that in theaters was just mind blowing. The second one I think captivated me probably because of Eowyn. I don't know if you've seen them, but she
See the
was one of the daughters
strong.
of Rohan. Yeah, with
Yeah,
the blonde hair.
yeah.
And I think there was something about her spirit that I was just like, whoa. Like it just little me was like infatuated with her story arc and her strength.
Did she have the hots for the Aragon guy or
Yes,
something like? Yeah,
Aragorn.
see,
Yes,
yeah, see,
yeah.
see. That's what I
That's like
remember.
the whole
Yeah,
subplot. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. We had something in common there because I was like, yeah, I get you, girl. Yeah, I get
Who
you. Yeah.
doesn't though? To be honest,
I mean,
Viggo
that's
Mortensen's amazing.
oh yes, he is. And you have those certain guys that are just hot, looking dirty, sweaty, hasn't probably showered in months. You're like, I don't care,
Yep.
yes. Bring him over here. Yeah,
Oh, um,
I know.
it's obviously a very difficult question. I think trying to answer it as simply as possible, I would say yes, but it's a lot more complicated than that. Because I remember even being in college, and it was very popular for the actors I knew at the time to say, "Oh, like I'm not about fame. Like I don't need to be famous. Like I don't want that." And I always was frustrated with that, and I would turn to them and I would say, "That's not true. It's just not true. You might not want the negative effects of fame. You might not want all of the baggage that comes with it. But when we talk in terms of the projects you want to do, you do want to be in the next blockbuster. You do want to get an Oscar. You do want these things because that's just achieving higher levels of the craft that you're passionate about. My attitude has always been if you can get by financially doing creative things, doing things you're passionate about, satisfying that urge inside of you, then that is success. That's already
Right.
fine. And you might never rise to the top. You might never become a household name, but it doesn't matter because you're still doing the things you care about. First, there's something driving you that means more than success in the sense of fame, right?
There are people in Idaho acting. My
Yeah.
friend lived in LA and now she's in Pittsburgh. She's finding her community. And that's the thing. She's like, there are people, out here acting and so and in my tiny mind, it's like now I'm experiencing. So now I get it, which is really sort of narrow minded to me. But it's like I see it, and
Mm-hmm.
and it means more to me now finding communities where it's not Hollywood, where it's not because
Right.
I think that's more important, and I think that's where a lot of voices are going to be heard, and
Mm-hmm.
independent film is it needs to be uplifted more and more and more. I mean, because we're not all going to get into the studios. We're not in
Right.
studios right now, just want to play it safe. And so I think, yeah, going the fame thing, I think, one of the things is just like fame could just be having a really strong community and
Yeah.
just keep going, creating your own legacy, if you will.
Yeah.
Your legacy could be your songbook.
I think there's a cliche quote even I don't remember who said it, but something about like people don't remember what you say, but they remember the way you made them feel. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember where that's from, but kind of to your point, yeah, different ideas of fame and success too, right? I know
Mm-hmm.
for me it's always been really simple that idea of if I can get by financially, if I can contribute by telling stories that I'm passionate about and I can do a good job and I can be professional and I can lead with kindness and my own integrity, that's success, right? So then by that logic, the pressure's kind of off. It's not to say I'm just giving up, but it's to say that that's what I care about. Is building that kind of environment and connecting with other filmmakers, other storytellers, making things happen that becomes something outside of us. It has its
Yeah.
own life and its own story. It's another very difficult question. Um, I kind of just want to say pretty simply that it seems to me equal, if not just impossible, to try and say which one is above the other. When I think about that, I think about songwriting, and there's one instance in particular. I have a song called "How Do You Know" that I wrote just a couple months back, and I had posted an excerpt on my Instagram stories, and a young girl over in India that is a fan of mine that I've given vocal lessons to, like via the computer. She reached out to me and she was like, "I just love this song so much. Like, could you send me the full version?" And after a while, she told me she wanted to cover it. So I went ahead and I sent her the lyrics and I sent her the chord sheet. And then she posted a cover of this song and she talked about how much it meant to her. And hearing her talk about it was just incredible because she interpreted it even differently than I had intended for it when I wrote it, the way I interpreted it. but it still somehow honored the message of the song in its own way, even though it was different than what I had meant. It meant so much to her because of the way she interpreted it, because whatever she got out of it was what she needed out of it. You know, I always tell people when they ask me to give them notes on their songs or on their scripts, I always say, use what serves you and discard the rest, as a little caveat. And I think that's kind of true of the people that listen to my music. So yeah, I think it's a hard thing to say which one is more important. I think both are really important, but they also seem to be on different stops on the journey or the process.
In a way, I think how it makes someone feel, I
Hmm.
think it's a little bit more important, because what you're doing is you're allowing them to feel
Hmm.
something. You're allowing them to get their imagination working. You're allowing them to be creative in their own ways, or letting something out as it may be something that they were not bringing forward.
Yeah. You're also kind of allowing them to take some sort of ownership of whatever you created, which it becomes something that's not even necessarily yours anymore, right?
I think once you let something out in the world, yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's
Because yeah, so that's very true.
so the music that I've written was written in the confines of my bedroom, right? Or on my porch. And I wrote it not really thinking so much. I thought about the world, I thought about the relationships that I have or the experiences I've had, but I didn't think exactly about the way somebody might interpret it until later. And then like I said with that example of the young girl, you see the way your work can influence somebody and be more powerful than you ever intended it to be.
You are having a dinner party
Mm-hmm.
and need to invite 5 guests to eat and play Twister with. See that it
Like,
wasn't just sitting down. You're playing Twister. See, that's the thing I wanted to throw in there, so it's different. Okay, who are you inviting? And it could be
oh my
dead or alive. Five
goodness.
people. That way, it's 6 because you're included, so it's even number.
Okay. My goodness. I mean, you know how hard these questions are, even the silly ones, you know? I I knew I was like going into this. Well, I didn't expect the twister aspect of it, but I was like, I'm going to completely out myself as such a geek and also possibly out myself as just this awkward homeschooler in my response. And I was like, you know what? I have to be okay with that because I am an awkward homeschooler. So I think I would have a blend. My goal would be just a blend of different people to have fun, but also just amazing, engaging conversations. So I think I would have Emma Thompson, um, Pavarotti, C.S. Lewis, um,
Okay.
J.R.R. Tolkien, because they were best friends. And then, and this is, I know you're going to laugh, Jesus Christ. And I would have
Oh
those
wow,
five
Jesus!
sitting at a dinner party and playing Twister with.
You're playing Twister with Jesus. Oh boy, hope he's not wearing
That's
his
a good
robe.
that's a good title for something, you know?
Playing Twister with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the name of your new book.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow. Okay. I need to know why these people.
Why these?
You have one female, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, one female. Okay, Emma. Why Emma Thompson? That's random.
I have always had some strange attachment to Emma Thompson. And not in the way of like I haven't even seen all of her films, but every time I've ever seen her, I'm captivated by her honesty.
You're teaching me something. C.S. Lewis, isn't he a spiritual guy? Is
C.S.
he?
Lewis, well, so his main claim to fame was the Chronicles of Narnia.
Okay, so but
The
he is a
Lion, the Witch,
spiritual
and the
guy.
Wardrobe.
Isn't
Yes. And
that?
so
Yeah.
yeah, he wrote, that was his main thing. I actually am a bigger fan of his sci-fi trilogy that he wrote.
And okay, J.R.R. Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings
Lord of the
guy.
Rings. And he and C.S. Lewis were best friends. So
Oh,
that's also
okay.
why I think it'd be so interesting to hear their conversations because they argued a lot.
Where does the big guy come in? I mean, okay,
Where does
Jesus.
Jesus come in? I think
Jesus.
that's pretty simple, to be honest. I mean, I think
Because
as
you
a
want more
Catholic,
wine. Wait. You
there
may
you
have something
go.
going on there. There you
If you
go.
want to simplify, if you want to see through me, it's for the wine. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty simple and explanatory. Also, I think in these conversations, it was because of it being a Catholic and because of my faith, I can't detach it from the art that I create and the inspiration I have to sing, to dance, to move, to act. And so the idea of being surrounded by some of these people like Pavarotti, Emma Thompson,
Pavarotti, that was
yeah,
it. Okay, that's
Pavarotti,
okay. Yeah, yeah.
C.S. Lewis, like these people that had such an ability to understand this spirit that exists in each person, the way that their soul can influence their work. Because I don't know if you know, but Pavarotti did, I think it was in the '80s, he did like a series, he and a couple other opera singers, where they did a workshop, like a master class on singing. And so much of what he talked about in that, and you can find it on YouTube, but so much of what he talked about in that series was contrary, or at least somewhat controversial, to the classical world of singing. And he talked about the way he felt his I'm not going to try and nerd out too much, but essentially the way he would control his voice in a very physical, anatomical sense that opera teachers did not encourage. But he was arguably the best tenor of all time, and he talked openly about this. And so I think that is why the idea of having him there, having Emma Thompson there, somebody that I've seen interviews with her, and she has a similar attitude. This idea of like, there's something inside of me that I'm just expressing. I'm using my voice, I'm using my mind, my body to give you art. And then Tolkien and C.S. Lewis are a lot more philosophical, and they would be just arguing with each other the whole time. But then I think the idea of having Jesus Christ there and having this conversation surrounding all of this, I don't know. I was fascinated by the notion of like, how much would Jesus even talk? How much would he just listen as
Uh-huh.
opposed to talk? And I was so interested because Tolkien and Lewis could talk your ear off, and Pavarotti could talk your ear off, and then you have Jesus. I just thought it would be such a wild but informative and incredible opportunity. So
And being an artist in a town that is still getting on its legs
mhm.
to becoming, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
Established,
being
maybe.
established, maybe. Yeah, being established as a place to um, be known, a place that can do it, rather than just a border town, a wild
Mhm.
west. You know,
Like, rather than just being a place of opportunity, being a place that is prolific, perhaps, and actually doing those, creating those opportunities, if that makes sense. I think the answer to maybe what I want to see more of here, if I think of that quite literally, I would just say I would love to see more competitive theaters. I would love for a professional theater to pop up. And we have a few. We have a few really amazing pioneers that are trying to make that happen. But I would like to see more of that. I would like to have more competition. So a couple more theaters doing different things, and then in regards to film, I think making adjustments, having a tax incentive, doing whatever it takes to have more films shooting here. I would love to see that happening. But the more kind of abstract answer that I feel a little more strongly is I would like I would like there to be more room for professionalism and seriousness in the creative industry here. And I'm trying to be tactful because I don't want to discourage anyone from pursuing art or telling stories, making films, having these theater shows. I don't want to discourage that at all. But I do feel quite lonely oftentimes when I seem to be the only one that's asking, well, how could this be better? Or how could this be more efficient? Or how could we respect each other's time more and tell a better story? And I'm kind of, yeah, I get lonely in that area. I get tired, I get frustrated, I get lonely because I want more people like that. I want more people to be like, you're right, like we can make this more efficient, we can do more, we can do better, we can pay each other, we can respect each other's time, we can have a living wage for artists in the city, right? I want more voices like that. So that's, yeah, that's my answer.
and I no, no, and it's good. Okay, and it's good because you helped me. First of all, you helped me form that question, but and I think that's one of the things that maybe put us together with the like mindedness. As soon as I got here, I had a meeting. I told you with some people about like, hey, this could happen, da da da. I even did a pitch deck, like, Liz, okay, let's
Mhm.
go, you know. But I think people, like you said, were just like, oh, you know, sometimes people are like, whoa, wait, oh, slow your roll,
Mhm.
you know. Every time I see something, it's not paid,
Mhm.
and you know, El Paso needs to get some paid stuff. Okay.
Right.
For and second thing, no one knows what SAG is. Every time I say it, you know, people are like, "What?"
Like, huh?
Okay, there's okay,
Yeah.
okay. So we, you know, we gotta, unless it's a big production coming in from LA or something. No one knows what SAG is.
We
This
have
has
a
got
bad
to stop.
habit of directly contributing to the starving artist motif in the city. This
And this is
idea of, oh, I love the work, so I'm going to show up for free, and it's like, but that hurts all other actors that are trying to do the same work because now the standard is you just show up because you love to do it, right? We're not going to pay you.
yeah,
Well,
and
and that's the thing, being in an area with limited resources, I can still completely respect and understand the idea of trying to teach each other. But I think there needs to be open communication and professionalism about our own limitations and what we're trying to teach. I think there needs to be accountability for if you genuinely don't know anything, you say that.
uh,
You genuinely say, I don't know anything about SAG. Let me try and get a SAG actress in here to talk to you about what SAG is. That's what you do, right? If you're in a place where a city where you don't really have those things, you try and provide it to your peers. And in
mhm,
regards to El Paso changing, yeah, I agree. I think that the change needs to also just be I think people need to take art more seriously here. And I think when I say that, a lot of people cringe because they think, oh, you're trying to ruin the fun of it. You're trying to make it not fun, or you're trying to squash my passion, or you're restricting me. And it's like, I feel the exact opposite. I think you establish these things, you build this infrastructure so that we can thrive on top of it, so we can tell better stories. But at the end of the day, it's
absolutely,
also work. Like I got a degree, I studied for this to try and make a career where I'm getting paid, I'm getting compensated for the work that I'm providing. It
yeah.
can be both. It's my passion, it's also my job, right? And so I think having room for those conversations with people, that's what I really, really want to see. I just really want to see more people that are willing to
You,
say, well, how could we make this better?
if you were doing your film school stuff from UTEP or whatever, and you can't have money, I get it, but don't, when you're asking to cast and everything, don't ask people to send in 20 pictures. The fuck is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I mean, obviously I wasn't applying for it, but I'm looking at it going, 20 pictures? Are you serious?
Right.
What?
Have
If you
some
don't know half of
perspective.
the two, I mean, you know, come on.
Or
And,
even when they ask you to, can you send in two self tapes, and can one of them be with a reader, and and you start to be like, I understand for a normal project that's not a huge ask. But if you're not paying us, you're also then commissioning us to do even more unpaid work in our audition process.
yeah, I am just open for more conversations with it.
Yeah, and we have more power than we think too. Even the
I,
difference of if you're doing student film and you can't afford to pay people, you still have the power to respect their time, to communicate efficiently with them, to tell them your expectations, and to lead with courtesy and understanding that you're not compensating them.
yeah,
Like we have more power too. You don't have to be this $5 million film to be professional and to be communicative. You could do that even if it's free, even if you can't afford to, you know?
yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you for doing this. It's been good. I mean, seriously, you're one of the people. I'm just looking to change things. We gotta, whatever little bit we can do. We gotta start
Yeah.
somewhere.
No, thank you for
But
asking.
yeah, and it was easy peasy, right? Not that
Yeah,
hard.
easy peasy. You're so good at this. You're the
Oh,
best ever.
oh, okay. Wow. You trying to train your acting skills on me? Come on now. Okay. Bye, Jenna.
Bye.
Holds a grudge over nothing.
Guess I didn't know what I was missing. Guess I didn't know what I could have. Guess I never wanted to admit that I was ever in the trenches of a life I didn't plan. Bow, 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 bow.